So I'm not sure if it's just been on my timeline recently, but there's been an inordinate amount of gender talk, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like my timeline is full of people discussing gender in multiple ways. We have people like Lily Tino, who it's best I don't go into that. We have people like Lily Tino. We have people who are discussing women's gyms that are only for women. I've seen so many videos of people who identify as trans going into a certain locker room. There's so much going on in terms of gender. However, I would like to discuss one part of the gender discussion that I'm not really seeing coming up that often, which I actually think is one of the most significant discussions we can have, which is women's safety when they're in what are considered men's fields. Woman killed in attack by male coworker who said he did not like her. According to the Wright County Sheriff's Office, the incident happened around 6 a.m. on November 11th at Advanced Process Technologies in Cokato. A 20-year-old Minnesota woman was reportedly killed in an attack prosecutors said was carried out by a male coworker who said he did not like her. In a criminal complaint filed last week and obtained by NBC affiliate KARE, prosecutors detailed allegations against 40-year-old David Bruce DeLong, who they accused of killing Amber Check of Hutchinson because he did not like her in an attack they believed he had planned for some time. I'm going to be honest, I think that's one of the first times I hear an attack being described that way as, oh, he killed her because he didn't like her, which granted, anyone you kill, I assume you don't like, but for there to be no big overarching reason of she wronged him or something that actually makes sense, the concept of just killing someone because you don't like them is wild because, first of all, that tells me that either you're deeply mentally ill because just not liking someone for most people is not enough of a reason for murder. But second of all, it's just kind of like there was no way for you to get past this. There was no way to avoid this kind of resolution, this conclusion. Instead, you don't like someone and you plan something for months as opposed to, avoiding them, ignoring them, doing your best to just get past the issue. Because they were coworkers, right? So I'm assuming you can't completely not see her, but this is odd and clearly, at least to me, it's not the full story. Right? The whole, I don't like you, so I'm going to kill you, that cannot be the full story. According to the Wright County Sheriff's Office, the incident happened around 6 a.m. on November 11th at Advanced Process Technologies in Cokato. Their officers were called to the scene for a woman found at her workstation with significant head trauma. Deputies arrived and tried to perform life-saving measures, but the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Police said an investigation found the woman's death was due to an assault by an adult male coworker with a blunt force object. The coworker, identified as DeLong, was taken into custody at the scene without incident. DeLong was reportedly charged with second-degree murder, but Wright County Attorney Brian Lutz told KARE in a statement he plans to evaluate his case for a possible charge of first-degree premeditated murder, which requires convening a grand jury. According to the Minnesota station, court documents indicated surveillance video showed DeLong leaving his workstation, grabbing a sledgehammer, and hitting Check in the head multiple times. He allegedly confessed to killing Check both to a witness and when officers arrived. In a statement, a company spokesperson told KARE they are heartbroken by the tragedy and our thoughts are with the victim's family and friends in this terrible moment. Check was a young female welder, according to a fundraising page set up to help cover her funeral costs. This is what I was mentioning at the very beginning of the video. We have a lot of these gendered conversations, and those are different conversations. I'm not talking about their quality. What I will say, though, is that when we're having conversations about gender, I really do think that what we should be discussing as well is women in men's fields. And is men in women's fields a thing? Someone has to let me know about that. But anyway, women in men's fields, specifically because welding is a job very strongly associated with men, right? When you think of a welder, I doubt many people are like, yes, a welder woman, which there are, but it's just like the stereotypes exist and they are what they are. I'm not going to go down the road of stereotypes right now. However, that being said, part of the conversation is women being safe at work, specifically when they are in a position where they might be the only woman there, when they might be the only woman there also in a context that is rougher. And by rougher, I mean when it's manual labor or not an office context, right? Because I think in most offices, you have your own space. There's HR that you can turn to in the office. In places like this, when you're doing welding, I'm assuming is what her career path was here as well. I don't know how it works in terms of how protected you are. Like, is there an HR person in the building, or is that some office you need to call? Who is around you? Is it just your coworkers who may all be men? And this has nothing to do with any hate against men. It's more the question of what is put in place to protect women, but also, honestly, men, right? Because HR or whoever is there is meant to be a protector of any employee there. So as much as, yes, there's definitely a gendered take here, it's also a very general notion of, okay, what are the safety protocols here? Because if some guy can just go and take a sledgehammer and whack her, I have questions about how everything is set up, what the safety precautions there are, like what is going on. And granted, the same thing could have happened in an office, right? Someone takes their scissors and stabs someone in the throat. That can happen. But I'm just wondering, what were the measures here for safety, security, all of that? Who all is there? Just a lot of questions, because I saw a picture of the building and this is what came up. And if this is accurate, which I would guess it is, it's very closed off. There are no windows. There's nothing seemingly, right? So it's also the question of, if no one's there in terms of HR or someone, some kind of safety officer, let's put it that way. So then it's just a bunch of people in this metal container, basically, with no safety measures, precautions. And there might be some, but I'm wondering, right? We were heartbroken to share the loss of our beloved Amber Check. She was taken from us far too soon at just 20 years young as a result of workplace violence, the page read. Amber was a hard-working welder who took great pride in her craft and dreamed of building a bright future through her work. Her witty personality, positive attitude, and beautiful smile touched everyone who knew her. Alexandria Technical and Community College said Check graduated from their welding program in the spring of 2024. Amber's commitment to excellence and her passion for her craft left a lasting impression on our campus community, the school said in a statement. Fellow female welders and women in trades have flocked to her family's fundraising page to share messages of solidarity. From another trade sister up north, I heard about her story this week and am heartbroken for her family. Her light will live in all of us, one commenter wrote. From one woman welder to another, may the arcs you strike among the heavens above fall back to the earth as only the brightest of stars, another commented. From one sister in the trades to another, rest in peace, Amber, rest easy, we'll take it from here. I'm so proud to be a part of the blue-collar sisterhood with you, another wrote. May your family find peace and comfort in knowing they will see you again. Your name will live on with us all. And as much as obviously this is a tragedy, it's nice and also interesting as an outsider to see women welders or women blue-collared sisters, I believe it was that someone said. I do think it's interesting to see the community there, because I just hadn't really thought of the community, honestly. Hopefully there's something that can be done along those lines, because if there's a big enough community in these trades, hopefully there are changes that can be made for the particular offices or areas, workstations, question mark, that are not well equipped with, like I said, HR, some kind of safety officer, safety protocols generally, you know, hopefully because there's a community, people can speak up loudly enough together. All of this is confusing. This case confuses me because we know very little, and the little we know is she got murdered because a guy didn't like her. And my question then becomes, did he not like her, or did he like her too much? Because again, we go back to the thing of not liking someone, not liking someone is a relatively mild thing, right? Even hating someone, it's not mild, but hating someone for me does not automatically chalk up to, yes, they're going to get murdered, right? So the fact that it's such a mild terminology that's being used, like, I didn't like her, so I took this drastic measure, makes me feel like there's other stuff going on there. And I think that's pretty obvious that there has to be more. There's part of the story that isn't told. And if I had to guess, and I could be completely wrong, it just sounds like someone who got not necessarily jilted, but maybe turned down, because realistically, I can't really imagine what other reason, like what other big event happened that made you hate or that made you dislike this person so much that you can justify murder. But then again, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. We don't know if these people knew each other well outside of work. We really don't know anything. So I think what's really confusing is just how this article is written and how this entire case is kind of posited. Okay, so I went on TikTok to find out more about this, because there is CCTV footage and there are TikToks discussing the CCTV footage, but I haven't seen it and I haven't come across it. So I don't know if people have actually seen it or they're bullshitting, because there are a lot of TikToks that include quote unquote footage, but it's not from this case. It's clearly not her and him. It's a different weapon, just completely different situation. Regardless, I found an article titled Amber Checks Sledgehammer Murder. Victim reported harassment 5 times to HR but was ignored. Now, the reason I brought this up is because when I was on TikTok looking for said CCTV footage, I came across a lot of comments that were talking about her going to HR all these times and being ignored. Interestingly, I did not find that in any of the articles I read about this. It would be a pretty big thing to admit that she casually reported this same guy 5 times and nothing was done. That's not something you leave out because, first of all, that's important context, but also it's quite telling about the man himself, right? A lot of these theories are apparently made up. So they were just circulating on social media because they were circulating on social media, not because they have any basis in reality, according to this article again. Public reaction intensified when social media users began circulating claims that Czech had repeatedly reported harassment before her death. A widely shared Reddit post alleged that she filed as many as 5 complaints with her employer's human resources department. The claims spread rapidly, becoming a focal point for anger among women working in male-dominated trades. However, investigators and credible media outlets have not confirmed that Czech made any formal HR complaints. The lack of verified evidence has prompted caution from experts who warn that speculation may obscure the established facts surrounding the case. So it says, no police report, court filing, or reputable news outlet has confirmed that any HR complaints were made. Family statements and law enforcement briefings have also made no reference to previous reports. Industry organizations such as National Association of Women in Construction have raised broader concerns about workplace culture and persistent hostility towards tradeswomen, but none has provided evidence that Czech submitted formal complaints before her death. And on that note, it also says that commentators in trade publications note that the industry faces long-standing barriers to reporting, including fear of retaliation, limited supervision in large facilities, and a belief among some workers that misconduct will not be taken seriously. Advocacy group argue that Czech's death, even without confirmed HR reports, has become a catalyst for renewed scrutiny of workplace safety and gender dynamics in the sector. And honestly, I think that is the best outcome out of a horrific situation, is that they review safety protocols and actually change things accordingly, because even just the concept of being afraid of reporting things for retaliation, obviously that exists in, I think, basically any field, unfortunately. But the fact that this is being taken more seriously because it seems like those workplaces are highly divided in unequal ways, in the sense of there's, I'm assuming, many times over more men than women. It's probably something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible, considering that this is not the first time this happens, but also just to have a protocol in place going forward. So I kept looking and I didn't find any HR complaint mention in any of the articles covering this case. So perhaps it's something that hasn't been unearthed properly yet, or it's actually just something that was invented and didn't happen, or maybe it's a third secret thing that we just don't know. Anyway, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. If anything positive is going to come of this, I think it's the attention to safety and generally, and then safety specifically for women in men's fields. But honestly, there's so much here that just doesn't add up. And I think there's a lot here that we just don't know. And I think that that's what makes all of this so confusing, like I said earlier. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.